So I don't know. I just know.
I think this is one. I don't know, but I love them though. I love them.
I do too.
If you're seeing this, I love them, and I know where you're going with the quote. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the Superman isn't what it was that Superman isn't a cop, he's a firefighter. I was like, bro, that's exactly who Superman is. Yeah. He's a fucking firefighter.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yes.
He's not like a space cop. He's never been that guy. It's so, and you see it like throughout everything. He's always been so kind of reluctant to take on this sort of authoritarian vibe, which is literally like if he, like the Man of Steel Superman was way too close to Lex Luthor. Like if Lex Luthor rolled up, when Lex Luthor rolled up and was like, yeah, man, you ain't shit, you're a problem. When Batman rolled up and was like, yeah, dog, you ain't shit, you're a problem. They had a case. Like they were like, yeah, nah, you and this other metahuman were just blowing up the entire fucking city. All these people died. We need to have a conversation about that, sir. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
there ain't no song talking about fuck the firefighters. I'll just say that.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Like, because they just be there to show. They show up and they just like they here to like protect people and save people from danger. And I think having a Superman like that in the time that we exist in right now, where like you almost feel like a lot of people are very hopeless as we are being thrown around for World War III and living through historical events constantly. Us millennials really got it bad, but I think that's the coolest thing you could do is have a Superman stand for like something like hope and kindness and reducing harm, but also being ready to fight to protect the people that you love as well. I think it's beautiful, and it gave me a lot of hope, and it inspired me.
Yeah. So who is there for hope? I'm just trying to stop this craziness. Y'all, we could talk about all the other shit, but like he literally, like his first crash out is like, people were going to die. What did you want me to do? Watch it happen? No. Yeah. Like that's the most emotional. You see him in the entire movie, and you're like, bro, like, yes, like just stop. Nobody's saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we want to lean back on things that happen, whatever. Nobody's talking about any kind of we can talk about the geopolitics of all that shit, but one step too far, 1 step, 12 step, 300 steps, 60,000 steps too fucking far.
But it does show you a bit of the anti-symmetry between the two armies, where we get the scene where, and this part of the movie broke me, right? We get a scene where the military is coming in, the Broavian military is coming in, and they're essentially about to kill people who don't have guns, right? And there's a scene where the gun is literally fighting the Broavian military is about to fire on a little kid who's holding up this, flag of Superman, and this moment is like mirrored 10 times over with Palestinian people, right? And they fire the gun, bro. And it wasn't, if it wasn't for Green Lantern and the Justice Gang being there, that little boy would have died. And I know that in real life, they don't have a Superman, they don't have a Superman coming to save them, and that breaks my heart, because it's like, that's so fucked up. And it's not just in Gaza. It's also in the Congo. It's also in Sudan. It's also in various places across the world. But these people don't have people come to save them. The only thing that is going to save them is us overthrowing capitalism, because capitalism is a thing that is exporting G-side at volume and having a society where the economy is democratized by people, because we are not going to export G-side across the world. It's never been a feasible thing. Like Vietnam War has never been popular. Any of the war in Gaza is not, or the genocide in Gaza is not popular. Why are we funding that? You know what I'm saying? It's et cetera, et cetera. I feel like I'm going on a rant.
Welcome back to Mindful Blerd. I am motivational speaker.
And I am Goofy Wise.
And we're here to bring you a nerdy perspective, man. Black nerd specifically. I usually come with a kind of a spiritually auntie kind of vibe. Usually.
Spiritual auntie. I love that. That's a new one. Yeah.
I just saw Ironheart.
I like that better than spiritual weirdo, for sure. Yeah. The spiritual weirdo is too humble. And the loud person next to him is Goofy Wise, and I am your communist. I'm also studying to be a teacher right now, also working as a teacher right now. So, we got a spiritual auntie / actor. Don't let them skip over that because that's fire. And then your communist teacher, and we are talking about the things that we love, anime, TV shows, and movies. And today's topic is
Superman. Dear God,
Superman. Yes, kind of cool. I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am. God damn it.
I'm very excited about this. Superman was my favorite like comic book hero growing up, and it was like I had the Christopher Reeve Superman on like on tape, but like recorded from TV at my house, and we used to like watch it. And it wasn't until I was a full ass adult that I knew that there was a whole part of that movie that happened on Krypton. Like, because we didn't even have that part recorded because they didn't start the tape in time. So like when I saw that bitch, I was like, "What is this like director's cut?" I was like, "Nah, nigga, that's what it always was." I was like, "Okay,
you just didn't get the full tape, bro."
Didn't have the full tape.
Unlock the memory. We used to really buy them shits from people, like at the Walmart or some shit. Like they would just have bootlegs and shit. That's crazy.
Yeah,
wow, I forgot about that, bro. That's actually hilarious. You just unlocked the memory, a hood nigga memory, bro. But that's awesome. I'm glad that you've had that relationship with Superman, and I think living in America, I don't think you have a choice but to have a relationship with Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't remember the first time I watched a Superman movie. I'm trying to think, but I used to love the fucking Justice League fucking comics or anime TV shows. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I used to love them shits, bro. I used to love Superman on those, and it's he's always been kind of like that symbol of hope, good guy, and I thought that was cool. But yeah, let's get into before we get into that. Let's David has brought us a. I'm sorry, did I just dox you?
No, you're good. I go by David sometimes.
All right, so David has brought up the quote of the week, our segment before we get into discussion, just to ground us into a little bit of mindfulness and just like what we are going through as we are, living life and such. So, yeah.
This quote of the week is something that I've had in the bag for a while because when I Googled mindful quote, I had it a long time ago. It was like the first thing that came up, and I was like, I actually fuck with this.
Sweet.
It is the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, I mean, why that quote? I have some thoughts about that, but why that quote?
Well, for so many reasons, but I'm consistently plagued by the lie of objectivity in my experience. Like the idea that how I'm experiencing something is like true in the sense that like it's definitely like how I think about something is the thing. And I've been in so many situations in my life where I was feeling the type of way about something, and then one thing changed. The situation didn't change at all, but I changed, and then it was completely different. And so this quote, the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. It just kind of reminds me to be more skeptical about my thoughts about something, about my emotions about something, because a lot of the time it really is just, a hair trigger reaction based in sort of, stuff that happened in the past, kind of a traumatic idea. And so I don't know.
Be more mindful in the situation, right?
For sure.
I love that. I think that's cool. I guess what initially popped up for me is just kind of like, how motherfuckers will be like, you had that pseudo spirituality BS that is like you can manifest yourself out of a bad situation. Like I guess what immediately came up is that mindset of like, oh, you're not really poor. You're just thinking that you're poor. You know what I mean? Or
yes,
you're not really getting your country bombed by another imperial nation. It's just like your thoughts around that or why you're sad. You know what I mean? So I guess that initially came up for me, and I know you don't think like that, and I know we both have talked about how that's like a problem. You know what I mean? Your mic just switched, by the way.
Shit.
But also, or maybe you got too close. I don't know. But also, I think what also came up for me is that I've noticed that, you know, a lot of first world problems don't exist in the third world in the same way, at least. Like where in a sense of like where we will have a lot of issues around certain things, like material things that we may think that are like super important. In the third world, like we see people finding ways to be happy with so much less, and I think that I think that happens for multiple reasons. Like the way that capitalism works is like it's meant to divide us, and in other countries, people have more communal cultures. You know what I'm saying? Because of it, capitalism hasn't manifested in the same way. You know what I mean? It's like it hasn't divided the neighborhoods in the same way, or how, access to nature and whatever the fuck in the same way, parks, recreational spaces, dividing people's time. And like, yeah, people have less, but they also have each other. And I think there is also a flip side to that quote, which is beyond my initial reaction, which is like, there is a lot of power. Like you said, there's a lot of power, and there is a lot of like, utility in noticing like your reactions to things and how we have been conditioned to believe like certain things are absolutely necessary, or things have to happen a certain way. You know what I mean? Like specifically within like the quote unquote American dream, where you have a life, you have a wife, you go to college, you get a house and the picket fence, and you have the kids, and you get the dog, and you get the cars, and you send your kids off to college. And it's like, if you don't fit that, that timeline, I feel like there's a lot of like sadness that comes from that. You know what I mean? And I think we can also unpack that a lot and think about life differently, because where we have this view on life that is obviously non-existent anymore for us, like people, millennials, like we're probably not going to own a home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it's like, if we can get back to a more human way of looking at life, which is not through this like lens of capitalism, or they're trying to get you to have cyclical spending, I think we will have a lot of fun. And I don't mean to say that in a like I said, now I'm hearing myself, I'm like, damn, am I just reducing or taking it all like, or am I looking at this through one lens? You know what I mean? Like as a communist or Marxist, or like and like looking at only at the class dynamics. But I think it's also like,
no, I don't think so. Yeah. I'm going to agree with you, because I think that is definitely. I think that points to the sort of, well, for two things. First, like the second thing you said, like from the class dynamics, I think that is integral to all of that, because like when we it's so much easier to fall victim to believing your thoughts and overthinking and being obsessive with stuff when you're isolated, right? When we are,
for sure.
If you and me are in community, and we're like having a conversation, and I have a thought about you that I'm thinking like, I know exactly what this nigga Josh is like. He's like da 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 da. Sorry, I know who he is. And in order for me to stay in that community with you, I have to question that thought. Like you're going to offer me information about you that goes counteractive to my initial thoughts about the whole situation. And so that means I'm going to have to be more skeptical about all of that shit. And so when we are all so isolated, it's a lot easier for me to go like, I know exactly who he is. There's nothing to check that if I'm just in my house or on my phone or whatever.
Yeah.
And to your first point, this is that sort of weirdo, like weird spiritual, like, oh, like think your way out of poverty bullshit. I think the reason it happens is because quotes like this are taken as philosophies when they're meant to be used as practices, right? As long as it exists in the sort of philosophical space, like this is what I believe. You're existing outside of reality. It's just in your head. But when that's a practice, when my practice is to go, when I'm feeling a constant state of overthinking, to pause and go, whoa, what is all that shit happening right there? When my practice is like, I can tell that I'm dysregulated. I need to go outside. I need to go for a walk. I need to hop in the shower. I need to when the instinct is to reach for a tool and to not reach for a philosophy that grounds it in reality. So it's not just me thinking airy fairy da bullshit. It's like, nah, what do we got to do to bring this into life?
Yeah, I think that makes, the way you explain that makes perfect sense, and I think that it is important to. I almost feel like a lot of these quotes have been taken kind of out of context by society in a sense, and the way that they're implemented is like, not as a practice, but as a philosophy. And I think people can have their own personal practices on how they do use these kind of quotes and ideas, and I think that is like extremely beneficial for both the individual but the community as a whole.
Amen.
And I think we need to get back to that. You know what I'm saying? We need to get back to that for sure, as a society, because I definitely think there's times where I guess I'm just kind of having like a midlife crisis recently. Which is why I kind of bring up like the, what I'm supposed to be doing at this ripe age of 31 going on 32, thinking like, oh, I should have had this by now, or even thinking about like I'm going to school right now and thinking about like, oh man, I'll have my full credential in like 3 years. And I'm like, dude, I'll be 34 at that time. What does that say about me? What does that mean about me? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I guess thinking about the quote, you know what I'm saying? It's just thinking about how I can, think less about what's happening and to think about why I'm having those thoughts around it to begin with. You know what I mean? So, I feel like that also happens to you. Like, do you feel like in your life right now that you're in a place like where you feel like you should have more or be somewhere else? And like, how do you apply that quote in real time?
As far as that, this is kind of a cheat, honestly. The best thing that's helpful for me in that situation is the fact that I'm an actor, and that already kind of places me outside of a lot of those expectations. So me hitting that, like
starving artist kind of thing. Yeah.
Not even that, but just like it's just I've had so many like times where I've been so like acting is kind of mercurial and it's all over the place, and so it's always up and down.
Hold on, pause. Mercurial
in the sense like so like mercury, like a thermometer. Mercury is like a solid and a liquid. It's kind of in a space of it can change depending on the solution or what it's in. And so being mercurial means like it's just like it's very volatile,
I love that. Yeah, that's fire. But continue, please.
And so like, yeah, man, like being an actor kind of places you outside of that, because like I've been so up acting. Like I've been so up, like, and also like not just, what I'm saying, not working. So I've had to, over the course of my life, be not okay, but like learn to not find my happiness in a lot of the sort of situations and the material things in my life. Because if I'm looking at that, if it was gonna be that, I'm just gonna be an unhappy piece of shit. Like the first time I experienced pretty severe depression was when I had made it in my head at the time, and I was like, oh man, I get to quit my job. I only get to act now. I'm crushing it. Like I like quit my day job. I like made a bunch of money on this commercial or whatever, and I was like, I'm good. And I was so unhappy. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, man. I was like, what do you mean? Like I got a bank full of cash. Like I'm feeling big. Like I feel big. And I remember that like being like, damn, this ain't it. And I spiraled into this really kind of dark hole. And it was really one of the first times I was really confronted with the fact that the situation that happens in my life is not going to be the thing for me. Happiness is going to have to, not even happiness, I wouldn't even say as a goal, but like happiness, contentment, presence, like whatever is going to make me whole is not going to come out from outside of me. And that was one of the first times that it's happened. Yeah. And so that's something that like I, as an actor, you kind of got to face that shit every day, bro. That's like I got the milestones and the family and all that, whatever. But like as far as all that goes, I can feel that like kind of pressing, but that's been pressing on me since I was like 24. Like that's been pressing as an actor. That's always there. And so I don't want to say I ignore it, but it's just like everybody else's timeline was never going to be mine. And I learned that pretty early on in adulthood, which has been really helpful.
Yeah, I think I also accepted that as well, like because of like how I grew up, and like I didn't have the same opportunities as most people like around me. So I think a part of me accepted that, but also like for me, it was like I accepted it, but I also accepted it to the extent because I knew that I couldn't have it. You know what I mean? Like I knew that like I would never have like the American dream in a typical way. So like it was easier for me to kind of just accept this life outside of that time frame, and almost like at some points in my life look down on people who participated in the regular life, because I mean that was my only sense of like control or power in that situation. You know what I mean? Which is like, I guess it's just my way of like accepting the fact that my life was so different. You know what I mean? But I really resonate. I have since grown from that. You know what I mean? And like been able to realize that like even in my angsty youth where I'm like fuck everything with the system, but I'll never have I'll never have a car or a wife or a house or anything like that, and fuck all that shit. I'm gonna chase freedom. I'm gonna chase my artistic dreams, kind of thing. And I think I have kind of resigned to your point of view, is where it's like happiness is not going to come from external anything. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like a practice for myself, where it's like I have to learn to be content and find reasons to be happy, rather than just relying on my external validation. Because I think I went down that external validation route of seeking that from people, despite not fitting into traditional molds. And it was hell for me. You know what I mean? It's just like you're never going to be happy like that. You know what I mean? Especially someone who just like never like from every aspect of myself, from like monetarily, how I grew up. I never fit in, like even me as a man, and like how I look at like traditional gender roles and shit like that. Like I never fit into that mold. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so like trying to kind of not fit into that mold, but still rely on that external validation was like a contradiction in me. I think that I have just like recently. Yeah. It's recently like uncovered. So I'm like, now I've been in this space where I'm trying to find reasons to be happy for myself internally. And it has been a bit of a struggle, What do you think? What helps you as a person, like find like your happiness? You know what I mean? And what strategies do you invoke in that moment?
Oh man, I want to. Thank you for that question. I want to just go back to what you were saying though, because I think a lot of I can tell you it's the same thing. First answer, I guess, is a continuation of what you were saying, which is I think sometimes it can be really easy to forget just how easy it is to compare ourselves to other people nowadays. Like we are bombarded by we're bombarded by comparison. Like it doesn't even make sense. And I think the insidiousness of that comparison has just become more like the ability to compare has just become more sophisticated. Like back in the day, you get the house, it's like the Joneses. I got the people next door, you see television and you're like, okay, like yeah, like that might not be me, like whatever. But then you get Instagram and you're like, okay, these people are just posting just like me, but they seem to be on some other shit. And now when you have like these endless bottomless scroll TikToks, it's like, oh yeah, that's just a regular person. They're just like, whoa, my life ain't like that. Like, whoa, like, this is what you should be doing at this age. These are the milestones. And it's like, I think one of the biggest strategies I use to help with that is the reminder that like my path is going to be my own regardless. Like my life is going to be bespoke to me. It's got to be tailor-made for me. And God bless my wife. We're both we have like black sheep vibes, and we're very much just kind of on our own. Very, you know what I'm saying? Like we on our own path out here.
I relate to that a lot. Yeah.
Are you guys black sheep, like kind of?
Oh, 100%. We just having this conversation yesterday, so it's hilarious that you say that. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, continue, please.
No, but like, yeah, she's really helpful in that. And I think, as far as dealing with that pull to comparison, pull to not feeling like I'm not enough, the strategies I use are kind of, I think, tried and true. I meditate, I do yoga, and I try to be as consistent with that as I can be, and I'm relatively consistent. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty good. And then like you said earlier, man, I think probably one of the best things is trying to remember to reach out and involve myself in community and get the fuck out the house, bro. It's really easy to isolate and to be away from people. So just remembering to like reach out to friends and being intentional about that. My wife is really intentional about community, and I'm just trying to take a cue from her every single day. And so those things are probably the two best things for me, because if not, bro, I'm just like you, man. You'll sit and you'll spiral and you're like, oh man. I mean, in acting, just from that perspective, I mean, I'm seeing like 1 week my friend is just my buddy from acting class. The next week he's like on a Marvel show. So that's jarring.
Damn.
Like you think keeping up with the Joneses is like fucking one thing. Like, yeah, I should have a house. It's like, damn, should I have a television show? Like this is
Yeah, I mean, I think as a content creator, I feel the same way. Like, so many of my peers are doing so many great things, and I just I've had to kind of like resign myself to a different path that is my own, and I've been living in that truth of like just being authentic to myself, and whatever comes from that path is what is meant for me, and anything else is just maybe not meant for me. And I've found joy in that, specifically as a content creator who speaks, truth to power, who says I'm a communist. Like, I know that this world is like not going to be kind to me. You know what I mean? In some ways, I have chosen the path of the most resistance, but it's the path that resonates with me and who I am and who I want to be, and I can live with that happily, whether it ends up in horrid or not, or immense success. I chose my life for me, by me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for sharing though. I really appreciate that shit, bro. A lot.
Same, bro. Like I appreciate you bringing that up, because honestly I think about this all the time. Like this is something that I'm constantly thinking about. So I appreciate you talking about it.
Yeah, I think not to understate, but something that you also said, like, I mean, I do a lot of yoga and meditation, and I also, one thing I don't really do well is have intentional community. And I feel like I try, but it's something I've always really struggled with. You know what I mean? I feel like a part of like growing up, I feel like I've never really had my own community, because we moved around a shit ton. Like we were going all over the place as a kid. So anytime I would get friends, we would move like 2 years later. So I think it's something I still struggle with to this day, is like having and creating that sense of community, and like, I don't know, even being consistent as a friend, of like reaching out and, being that kind of person, but also still wanting people to reach out to me as well. You know what I mean? And like to have things to do with people. And I feel like since I moved so much, like most of my community is all online, and it's just hell. It sucks. Yeah. Like I think people need an IRL community for sure, but it's like, it's getting harder and harder because of how, we're working so much. It's already out of the way. You know what I mean? It's so inconvenient, but I think it's ultimately necessary.
Agreed. Totally agreed. All right, man. Well, let's get into it, man. Superman.
Yeah. Speaking of Black Sheep.
Oh my God. Facts. Superman, the original Black Sheep. Let's get into it, man. Like Superman, long time coming. Hadn't been around for a minute. James Gunn bringing us back after the Snyderverse. First and foremost, I gotta hear your thoughts on the Snyderverse. What was your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Superman before we get into the
It's gonna be a little controversial, but there's a video of me singing the song of Snyder, and basically saying like how he is a creative visionary, and the execs at Warner Brothers don't want to limit his creative freedom and
Get out of here.
In hindsight, you know, I obviously look at those comments in that video with immense speculation, and I look back and say, like, damn, I really didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But I will say, speaking on the first, you know, as someone who didn't grow up reading Superman comics, and speaking on the first Man of Steel, I fucking love that shit, bro. I love Man of Steel. The rest after that is kind of like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like mid at best. But I mean, even Man of Steel is low key probably mid. Like, now I think about it, but it's like it was fun. It was a good movie. Like, I enjoyed it. I look back on the Man of Steel and I think of like, damn, this is what it's like if fucking Dragon Ball Z pulled up and them fight scenes were crazy. They were nuts. Yeah. I love that shit, bro. I love that when motherfucking Zod pulled up and he was doing all shit. And then initially I heard all the backlash to it, and I was just like, why is everybody pissed? Why is everybody so upset? And they start talking about, oh, he had 7 9/11s happen and he didn't care. And at first I was like, yeah, but it's, you know, it's motherfuckers just fighting. I didn't understand that it was like, you know, it was so integral to Superman's character and like how much that character in the comics has, you know, been established already. You know what I mean? And granted, it has been subverted since, but like the subversion comes from the establishment of Superman as a super kind, overly kind person, this Boy Scout kind of guy with a heart of gold. And yeah. But what were your thoughts?
I mean, look, I want to say when I first saw it, I will empathize, because when I did first see Man of Steel, I really enjoyed it. But also I think we got to remember that we were in a drought at that point. Like Brandon Routh was it was a while after that, and so we hadn't got a Superman movie in a minute, and so you know, I was like, yeah, no, this is fine, this is cool. It was coming off of that Dark Knight vibe. I was like, cool, yeah, it's something. But as I've aged, it has not aged well. It hasn't aged well, honestly.
Really? The Man of Steel or all of them?
Man of Steel. Like, Man of Steel has not aged well. I watched it, I think, last year just to throw it on because I knew they greenlit this. And I threw it on and I was like, man, this bitch is damn near unwatchable. I was really struggling to get through it. And I was like, because I'd seen people kind of have. You hadn't seen it, what?
I said I haven't seen it in like years, to be honest, but so I'm going strictly off like what I watched in college.
See, and that's what I was on it. I was like, yeah, man. Like, I remember I saw it. I was like, man, like, yeah, this was it. But I watched it again. And I was like, damn, I'm having trouble getting through this because it's just so blatantly like not who Superman is at his core, like a kind, just human.
Yeah.
And so the Man of Steel didn't work. Obviously, stuff after that doesn't work, but it just doesn't hold up over time. Which I guess brings me to this. I remember when I saw the trailer for this one come out, and I was just in tears.
The new
I was
Superman,
like, whoa, the new one, with David Cornsweet. And I'm just like in tears because I was like, yo, I didn't know that I was missing this level of hope. I didn't know that like this is what was like, and because Superman, I think the void was exacerbated by the fact because Superman is so integral to the idea of the Justice League and the DC EU at the time. It wasn't just a Superman size hole. It was like a superhero size hole. Like the whole universe was devoid of that hope and kindness. And so I think it made it a lot worse. And so when James Gunn came out, guns a-blazing, with the first trailer, I was like, man, I don't give a fuck what this is. I know at least he understands the character.
Oh no, yeah, I'm thinking of Snyderverse, but yeah. I get you. Yeah. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a lag between us, so like I'm still I can notice it, but it's all good. We're fine. It's like you're gonna hear me probably a little slower, so that's all that's happening. But yeah, I agree 1000%. I actually didn't watch any trailers from Superman. I kind of just heard online that hey, it's gonna be anti-Israel, and I was like, holy shit! Somebody said anti-Israel. Let me go pull up to this motherfucker and watch it, bro. But I do empathize. I do understand where you're coming from. As far as like looking after watching this movie, looking back on the Snyderverse, it's like you were not lying. That movie was devoid in its entire tone, in the way it was shot, in the color grading of like, it was devoid of hope. It was devoid of life in a certain way. You know what I mean? It was like this, you know, it was basically 300 but Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like slow motion fights, like all this shit. It's just like, and I understand why. And my brother is actually like on the side of like Man of Steel, so we've been going back and forth about this a little bit. But he's like, bro, Man of Steel is way better, 100% better. This movie was trash, right? And he's like, that Man of Steel was real Superman. And I'm like, and he's like, oh, Superman back then was nice. He was a good guy. And I'm like, bro, he crumpled up somebody's big rig because they said mean things to him in a bar. Like, this is not the same Superman that we just saw from James Gunn, you know?
Exactly that, bro. Like, yeah, like, what are you talking about? This guy, like, he's angsty, he's weird, and it's like, you're a grown ass like superhero, bro. Like, did nobody have the power? Clearly they didn't, because nobody had that fucking power responsibility like take with you. Like, one of my favorite things about this movie is you can tell Superman's whole part of what makes Superman so almost like bumbling and unsure of himself in this movie is he's consistently holding back. Like he like, of course he could have like blown up this kaiju like with one punch and like exploded it everywhere and it like, or knocked it through a building, but he's like, nah, let me hit the kaiju and catch it and then slowly drop it down. Like, he's consistently trying to find a way to implement as much kindness as possible. And I mean, he's literally fighting these people, being like, hey man, you know, I mean, they whooped his ass sideways to Sunday, and he's like, you know, you don't have to do this. And you're like, bro, don't just let it out. And so
I think that go ahead, continue, please.
The fact that you just brought that up, it exacerbates that exactly. Like the fact that like, he just, that is not the same dude who got mad at somebody for being mean to him or being mean to somebody at a coffee shop or whatever, and then like messes up their truck. That's weird.
That's not Superman. I think that's what ultimately what it is. It's like, I didn't know about what Superman was in the comics and what he represented in the comics in the way that he has. And like, my brother said he's read some of Superman's comics, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you have, but like, I think there's a legitimate reason why comic fans are holding so strong into this idea of like Superman being this kind of Boy Scout hopeful guy. And I'll be honest, watching, you brought up the kaiju scene, and in the movie, I was upset. I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, Superman, do something, motherfucker, do something. Like, punch this nigga to Mars or something. Do something cool. But it's like, that's not who Superman is. You know what I mean? And I think that although I did find that like that feeling of him not doing that annoying and kind of like sometimes, but I think it's like, I don't like, for art to be good, you don't have to necessarily agree with it. You know what I mean? The point of art is to stand for something and to attempt to move you to understand its perspective. And I think that's what the movie does accomplish really well. Like, it does accomplish this idea of like, you know, Superman is holding back because he's a kind person, and that kindness is cool, and that this is what it means to be like a punk rocker. You know what I mean? It's to go against the system that is telling you to be like Henry Cavill and be fucking radically kind, save a fucking squirrel, save the humanity, save the people. You know what I mean? Try to move through this world in a way that does is the least amount of harm possible. You know what I mean? And I think that's beautiful, and that's Superman.
Yeah, man, it very much is. I definitely I think it was actually it was, I don't want to say the other podcast, but it was a podcast with, it's two black people. They're great. I can't remember the name of it.
I forgot. I can't. Is it Crazy Stupid Podcast?
I think so. I don't know. I just know.
I think it's one. Podcast? I don't know, but I love them though. I love them.
I do too.
If you're seeing this, I love them, and I know where you're going with the quote. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the Superman isn't Superman isn't a cop. He's a firefighter. I was like, bro, that's exactly who Superman is. Yeah. He's a fucking firefighter.
Yeah,
Like that.
yes.
He's not like a space cop. He's never been that guy. It's so, and you see it like throughout everything. He's always been so kind of reluctant to take on this sort of authoritarian vibe, which is literally like if he, like the Man of Steel Superman was way too close to Lex Luthor. Like if Lex Luthor rolled up, when Lex Luthor rolled up and was like, yeah, man, you ain't shit, you're a problem. When Batman rolled up and was like, yeah, dog, you ain't shit, you're a problem. They had a case. Like they were like, yeah, nah, you and this other metahuman were just blowing up the entire fucking city. All these people that we need to have a conversation about that, sir. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, so I definitely, Superman is meant to be a firefighter. And something about the film that I really liked was that James Gunn gave us somewhere to go, right? Superman, I was genuinely like worried about the fact that Superman wasn't going to be like Christopher Reeve, stoic, I got it together, like it's all this water off a duck's back type shit. Like I was like, I really need him to do that. I was not looking forward to seeing a Superman who wasn't in that sort of regal, swaggy vibe. But the thing that James Gunn, I think, really achieved, not only with this, was not only with the vulnerability, but with just the fact that he was just in year 3. And I think somebody put in my comments that he had just, this was his first loss. Like the movie opens up on his first loss. So he doesn't really have it together as Superman yet. He's been probably just coasting off the fact that he was like, I'm nice like that. And I'm strong enough to just go save squirrels and do all the stuff and still beat the bad guy. But like, Lex was pressing him in a way where it was like, yo, you gotta come up with something else. You gotta be better. And so James Gunn has really given us a place to go to get to that stoicism, to get to that like regal guy who's like seen it all. He just ain't seen enough. We're still at the very beginning of his journey, which I really, really appreciated.
And I think it gives Superman some place to go. In a sense, you know, he has a lot of growth that he's going to have to go through to become a better person. And I think James Gunn said it himself. He was like on an interview and he was like, Superman can kill. You know what I mean? Superman can kill, and it's something that he would never want to do or never like that would be his first resort. But it's something that he can do in order to save lives. And I think that's an important distinction because whereas Zack Snyder's Superman was like a god becoming man. This one feels like a alien who is becoming human or is already inherently human. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's having to become something bigger than himself. You know what I mean? He's having to become, you know, essentially this superhero, which is like a quote unquote god figure. But I don't think it leaned into the biblical aspect as much as Snyder did. But I do want to say that to your point about, you know, Superman being a firefighter instead of a cop, I'm like, yes, because that's what he is. He's there to reduce harm. You know what I mean? It's not that he won't inflict harm when absolutely necessary, but he's there to protect people in the same sense of like firefighters. And I'm sure there are some bad firefighters that are racist or whatever, but you know, there ain't no song talking about fuck the firefighters. I'll just say that.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Like, because they just be there to show they show up and they just like they here to like protect people and save people from danger. And I think having a Superman like that in the time that we exist in right now, where like you almost feel like a lot of people are very hopeless as we are being thrown around for World War III and living through historical events constantly. Us millennials really got it bad, but I think that's the coolest thing you could do is have a Superman stand for like something like hope and kindness and reducing harm, but also being ready to fight to protect the people that you love as well. I think it's beautiful, and it gave me a lot of hope, and it inspired me.
Yeah. So who like favorite characters? How'd you like Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen? What were your thoughts on these people, man? How you feeling?
Let me think. I think to be honest, one character I do want to talk about a little bit is Mr. Terrific. And I thought he was really good in a sense of like, he was cool. You know what I'm saying? And you can see that him and Superman had different, points of view on life. Like with Superman's like, we got to take it to a, outer space zoo or something and research it. And he's like, oh my God, shut your bitch ass up, bro. Like, and then, and I love that he was like, Mr. Terrific was like a very like cool character. He had his jacket. He was looking fly, like afro out. You know what I'm saying? I thought in a lot of ways he was super cool. One thing I didn't appreciate about him is like he kind of was a comic relief, and at sometimes like it was annoying. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll pop in the scene, that damn dog, man. That damn, I'm like, it's giving Tropic Thunder right now. It's giving stereotypical, and it's like it makes sense from the aspect when James Gunn is like the sole writer of this, and this is his point of view of black people. Is like, oh, we black, we don't like dogs like that, bro. Get that dog off the bed, man. That damn dog. You know what I'm saying? That's the vibe it was given, and it did like. As much as I did appreciate his character in certain aspects, I also felt that it was kind of lacking in that aspect. And I digress. But what are your thoughts on any characters specifically, or Mr. Terrific in general?
Hold on, let me get this because I gotta this is so funny. Because he's fantastic. Eddie, yeah, that's his name. Eddie, I can't say his last name, I'm not gonna try. But he definitely he's a brilliant actor, and I think his portrayal of Mr. Terrific probably it brought such a life to the movie. And I think the parts with him and Rachel Brosnahan, Lois Lane, like side by side, are probably some of my favorite moments of it. Just they're very like them working together, him like doing that, and I really appreciated. I don't know, man. They both have a grounding energy, like just as actors anyway. Yeah. And so it really kind of brought the universe down from like this kind of, they're very comic booky up until that point, and it really kind of brought us back down to reality. Yeah. And so I would say that two-hander of both of them was really, really powerfully helpful in doing that. And
I like that. Yeah.
I'd say, man, I was kind of blown away by Nicholas Hoult. I know people are talking about him as Lex Luthor or whatever, but like,
who's Nicholas Hoult again? Oh, Lex Luthor. Oh, yeah.
And so, man, I've been on his shit for a minute. Like, he's probably one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. And when he got announced for possibly playing Superman, I was like, I don't know if this is right, but I know he's a genius actor, so I'm like, let me see it. Like, I'd be down to see it. But when he got Lex, I was like, no, that fits. That fits. He's brilliant in this film.
Yeah, and I think that him missing the opportunity to get Superman and getting Lex Luthor instead is like the perfect shift for our mindset to get into playing Lex Luthor, who's like the number one hater in this movie. Like he is like spectacularly like devoted to fucking over Superman, and I found that to be, quite entertaining throughout the film, and I thought it was really well done. A lot of his monologues, I mean, there were aspects of him that I felt like was almost like too comic booky in my experience, and this is just kind of like my overarching critique of the film as a whole, where it's like it just felt so James Gunny, and I'm just like, I don't particularly like James Gunn films. I don't particularly enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy and just, buddy comedy versions of superhero. That's just my take. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'll die if I'll not heal if I must. But I did appreciate aspects of Lex Luthor in the sense of like how he was written and why he was written the way he was. I thought that he was very evil, and he did a good job of that throughout the movie, and also being a billionaire was like a nice touch as well in our current times, and in his whole plot of having Broavia as a nation and using that as a way to legitimize killing Superman. I thought was a very unique way to introduce him into the film. So I will give James his credit for that.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. And to your point, this is something that I
Yeah,
thought was really interesting about just the film as a whole. I
yeah.
think that this movie is what people should be meaning when they say that this was a kids movie. Because like I had somebody in my comment section like perfectly
Yeah.
articulate this, and they said this movie made me feel like what becoming a Superman fan felt like. Like it made me feel like what it was
Mm,
like to become a fan for the first time. There were multiple times while I was watching this movie where I was literally like up in my chair, like giddy, like a child, just like eyes wide, like, oh man, this is, and I literally like, oh shit, hold up. It was just I couldn't even help it. I was just so at awe and jaw on the floor with the sort of spectacle of the comic bookiness of it. I think every Superman
yeah,
fan has always really wanted a sort of an immersement, a one-to-one of the sort of animated series of the comic book experience, and we never really got it. Like you don't really get that with
yeah,
God bless Christopher Reeve. You don't get that with Reeve. You don't get that with Brendan Routh. You don't get that with Zack Snyder. This is the closest we've come to
yeah,
actually having that like lived universal experience.
yeah.
And so I really appreciated that. To your James Gunn point, I will throw you a bone. Although I think Guardians is the only good trilogy in the MCU.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
the only good trilogy in the MCU is Guardians of the Galaxy. But now I'll leave that. The I will say that nigga did way too many 360 like pans for me. If he 360 that bitch one more time, I was gonna throw up. I was like, bro, we get it. We get it. Like that shit
Yeah.
was just,
Oh,
oh, here
oh.
come a fight scene. Here come that 360. Hey man, we don't gotta do this. Yeah, we gotta do this. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's and it's always funny seeing directors have their own creative marketing films that they can
Yeah.
fall back on, and audiences can know what to expect. But at the same time, I too many 360s, a little too many jokes. Like I just I wish this movie sometimes was a little bit more serious. Like I understand the
Mhm.
message of it, like and you also illuminated that as well. Like this is kind of like a way to get people into Superman and who Superman is really in the comics, and I think that's wonderful. But at times, I felt like the tone was just like I couldn't take anything serious. Like I was just kind of like monotone throughout the whole movie, except the inspiring moments. Those were really good. But like for the action sequence, I didn't really feel like a lot of dread or anxiety about what was going to happen. It kind of felt like kind of like cartoonish in a way, and I think
Yeah.
I understand that why that's important for the movie. And while I also cannot be like, I don't know if that was necessarily for me. You know what I mean? And I am really excited about the prospect of James Gunn talking about, with this movie being the rebirth of the DCU, that we're going to get more and more movies that have different tones. Like the Clayface movie is going to be a rated R horror film, and they're going to potentially merge with Batman and Superman, even though both of these movies have two different tones themselves. So like, I'm excited for
Mhm.
the idea of like all the movies having a different tone. Where like I feel like Marvel didn't really do that very well, and they try to have everything kind of have that Avengers buddy comedy vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm
I
excited for like a little bit of diversification in that kind of tone. So like I'm okay with this existing the way that it is because I know that it won't be everything that I'm getting from DCU.
Ooh, that's a genius point, and I totally agree. You really just brought up something for me though, because
Yeah,
I remember somebody saying that talking about the jokes and like looking back on the movie, and I'm gonna go see it again. Um, the comedy is like Superman comedy, if that makes sense. It's not
yeah,
like it's not the gallows humor of Marvel. Marvel is like the world's end, and it's like, yeah, but what's gonna happen to what are we having for lunch? Or what? It's not that shit. It's like
bro.
what I'm talking about. I hate that shit. I hate it. I'm so sick. I'm so sick of
No, I know
Marvel
exactly what you're
being
talking
that.
about.
Like, fucking, oh yeah, like what are you gonna invite
Yeah,
me for dinner though? Like, shut the fuck up. Like, nigga, this is
that's what this
important.
movie felt like to me sometimes though.
Okay, but here's my point, right?
But I wanted you to finish your point. Yeah,
Here's my point. He the nature of the comedy was corny. right? It wasn't clever.
Mm-hmm.
It was corny. It was Superman comedy. We were put into a Superman movie. At no point does Superman not think he's going to be able to figure it out until he does. That happens eventually, right? But there's a sort of a trust that he's gonna figure it out at the end of the day in the sort of serialization of it. Like when you're watching the show, you're like, I mean, it's Superman, he gonna get it. Like Lex got Lois, but we're gonna figure it out. I think so much of just how that universe has been built, or at least it has been exhibited in this film, mirrors that energy. I can see how that could pull away from the stakes and the idea. Like I totally get that. Like I at no point was I like, he's not gonna figure this out. Like I 100% get that, but I think at least it mirrors, it's intentional, right? It mirrors the tone of who and what Superman has always represented. Whereas in Marvel, when they just scattershot it over every fucking thing, it feels just forced and obnoxious. And you're like, bro, and like you said, like in the larger extended universe of Marvel, it's like when nothing matters, when nothing is a big deal, nothing's a fucking big deal. Like that's not a great way to set up an entire universe. And I do agree, like having a diversification of tones is really going to help mitigate that. But I do think Superman is definitely going to struggle more in these next few movies. But this one was light, and it was what it is, and I can totally see that being kind of a turnoff for people.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you say that, because I think you explained that really well, especially with like how Marvel is kind of like it just kind of like corporatizes all the comic book properties and kind of blends their tone into kind of one central theme, I guess, and where we all have diversification in DCEU, but also the necessity of having James Gunn's Superman, the first one, be that kind of like comic booky, he's going to figure it out kind of vibe. I think that is also important. So I'm glad you say that, and I want to reiterate, like I did have gripes with this movie, but I also felt like this movie was very hopeful, and I really fuck with the vibe of like being a punk rocker and like that being anti-establishment when the world is like trying to fuck us all over. You know what I mean? And I think that nothing exemplifies that more with how Superman decided to intervene on international events. And from leaving. I think that him doing, Superman intervening in Broavia's like attempt to invade Jharanpur is exactly what like me as a superhero, or me when I sit down and dream about if I had superpowers. You know what I mean? It for all its all of my critiques of the movie, I think it revives what it means to be a superhero. Whereas like all these Marvel movies, I don't feel like they were actually addressing things that were happening in real life, and then also taking a fucking stance on something. James Gunn can say, "Hey, this movie wasn't about Israel versus Palestine," and I'll be like, "You gotta say that." Just like Andor gotta say, "Oh, there are no politics in the show," because in order to get that bitch greenlit, you have to go through that process. But I think that it inspires people to take a stand where people have gotten really complacent in not taking a stand on anything. You know what I mean? And I think this movie has guts. I think it has balls for that. And I'm extremely like excited about the idea of superheroes feeling that way, especially considering historically, like Superman in the comic books was punching Nazis, bro. Like what do we like when do we lose the plot on motherfuckers actually saving people in a way that wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to save you off falling from off the tree or whatever the fuck, the building, right? Like we're talking about actual geopolitics, and I think where Marvel movies like Civil War kind of strayed away from, where they could have had more meat in their movies, like because that was like the essential like fight between Iron Man and Captain America because of the Wachovia Accords. Like I feel like there could have been more done. Like they could have actually had it happen in a way where it's like both sides of superheroes picked a side in a sense. You know what I mean? And like how are they going to do it? And then had a message for that. But we know that Marvel works with the American military, and they get script power, so they get to veto some of that shit. But in this movie, for better or worse, James Gunn had pretty much all the writing power. You know what I mean? Because they're pretty much throwing a Hail Mary to save their fucking company, right? And they're counting on James Gunn to do it. So because of that, we were able to get some fresh ideas and politics in that. And I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I would say, man, the insertion of Superman in that comic. I mean, it's the inciting incident, right? It's the Broavia thing. Like when he has the interview with Lois in the very beginning, you really get to see how this we've turned a corner here. You intervening in these things, and I think Superman intervening in this. Why do I feel like I'm about to cry? Relax. Okay. I feel like
you can also cry.
No. I was like, it's intense. Superman intervening in this feels like this Superman intervening in this feels like what people have been saying about the treatment of every brown person on the fucking planet. Gaza, Congo, like all this shit, like just in general, this Superman coming in like this is someone who's just there for hope. I'm just trying to stop this craziness. Y'all, we could talk about all the other shit, but like he literally, like his first crash out is like, people were going to die. What did you want me to do? Watch it happen? No. Like that's the most emotional. You see him in the entire movie, and you're like, bro, like yes, like just stop. Nobody's saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you know, we want to lean back on things that happen, whatever. Nobody's talking about any kind of, y'all, we can talk about the geopolitics of all that shit, but one step too far, 1 step, 12 step, 300 steps, 60,000 steps too fucking far. Like we've gone too far with this shit. And Superman being the voice of reason to be like, I just want to stop the foolishness. We can get back to whatever you want to get back to, but this is about to be slaughter. We're not going to do that. Like him being that was exactly correct. And James Gunn, and Snyder's Superman couldn't have did that. He would have blown some shit up. He would have gone in there, guns blazing, done some crazy shit. This squirrel saving ass motherfucker.
Machine guns.
You know what I'm saying? This squirrel saving ass motherfucker had to be the one to be like to intervene like this. And you know what I'm saying? So I think him having that core of goodness and kindness really points to, I think, what a lot of people are talking about when they talk about the situation in Gaza and the situations around the fucking world. It's just like we can be fucking humans about this. This is getting out of control. Like, what are we doing? It's been gotten out of control. So I genuinely, God bless him for putting that shit. That shit was on the nose as a motherfucker. But like, people are slow. Like what are we gonna do? We need somebody to kind of stand on that. And so, you know, I think it was very safe. It's safe because you can put that anywhere. It ain't like the fucked up thing is happening worldwide right now.
And that's the norm. You know what I mean? And if people have kind of come to accept that, you know what I mean, as normal. It's like these people have to go across the world and die for what really is profit and power, and we're just supposed to accept that. And I think Superman kind of in this movie reminds us of the insanity of that. You know what I mean? Like there are people in the Congo right now dying because some corporation is benefiting off the fact that they can go in and take, you know, minerals. You know what I'm saying? And with the genocide that is happening right now in Israel or in Gaza is because that the settler colonial state that was created by Western powers wants to take the land to pressure Middle Eastern countries for their power and for their money and resources, their oil, their copper, all these different things. And it's like, it's insane to me that we have come to the point where we need Superman to be that golden boy and shine a light on these things. But that's the reality that we live in. You know what I mean? And I think that James Gunn's movie does kind of make it vague, but it also makes it kind of specific in a sense that like Lex Luthor Corp or whatever, and who is an American company, is the main person funding Broavia in the sense of like, you can say that for any nation. That could be Israel. That could also be in the Congo where they are overthrown regime changes at any time that somebody wants to not give us their resources. It happened in Iran, right? They didn't want to give us their resources at a price that was good enough for us, and they said, okay, here's a regime change. Now you have a dictator for 25 years, and then when the right-wing extremists take it over, now it's like, oh, we're going to go invade them again because these right-wing extremists take it over. When they took it over because you're the people that threw in a dictator that people were not going to accept. And then they use the fact that the right-wing extremist groups are doing horrible human rights atrocities or repressing women as justification for invasion again, even though they kind of created this situation. And I think that the particular situation where we have Luther Corp in there and him donating the money, it implicates America in a way that we haven't seen before. I think it is, kind of like subversive and like also kind of safe in a way where it doesn't, it obviously doesn't call out the settler colonial project of Israel, right? It doesn't call out any of that stuff, but it does show you a bit of the anti-symmetry between the two armies where we get the scene where, and this part of the movie broke me, right? We get the scene where the military is coming in, the Broavian military is coming in, and they're essentially about to kill people who don't have guns, right? And there's a scene where the gun is literally fighting the Broavian military is about to fire on a little kid who's holding up this, flag of Superman, and this moment is like mirrored 10 times over with Palestinian people, right? And they fire the gun, bro. And it wasn't, if it wasn't for Green Lantern and the Justice Gang being there, that little boy would have died. And I know that in real life, they don't have a Superman, they don't have a Superman coming to save them, and that breaks my heart because it's like, that's so fucked up. And it's not just in Gaza. It's also in the Congo. It's also in Sudan. It's also in various places across the world. But these people don't have people coming to save them. The only thing that is going to save them is us overthrowing capitalism, because capitalism is a thing that is exporting G-side at volume and having a society where the economy is democratized by people, because we are not going to export G-side across the world. It's never been a feasible thing. Like Vietnam War has never been popular. Any of the war in Gaza is not, or the genocide in Gaza is not popular. Why are we funding that? You know what I'm saying? Et cetera, et cetera. I feel like I'm going on a rant here, but what I'm trying to say is that moment in the movie theater moved me so much, and it. Did you feel that way as well in that scene?
Yeah. No, bro. Like I broke me, bro. Like I just, the fact that it's kids is the most egregious thing to me, and watching that in that film was it was just such a fucking crazy, powerful moment of just. I mean, it seems like that's what film is for, bro. Like, even it's almost seeing it happen so real on our phones, which was radicalizing for so many people already, is fucked up, right? Like to the point where your brain almost becomes not desensitized, but like it's like it's too much. You're like, I can't do this. This puts it in a place where you can see it and have it not overwhelm you, but just be reminded of how fucking stupid it is, how horrible this is. And so having it in a digestible way, in a way that not only allows you to see it and deal with the atrocity of it, but also to show that like the solutions that people are asking for are ones that are just based in, hey, can you just not kill these people indiscriminately? Like, can you just not take this asymmetry out on this group of people? Like, that's all. He's not. It's like he could have dropped a kaiju on the fucking army. Like, he didn't do that. He's just like, let me just stop this. I'm gonna fuck with the leader. Can we just chill out for a bit? Cool. I'm out. That's enough. You know what I'm saying? But like, people aren't asking for much. Can we just get them some food? Like, we're shooting at kids. Going to
can we get them to stop bombing them? Like, you know, it's just like, the bar is in hell, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like all we're asking for is like, human decency. But it's like, I think something I've been learning a lot about reading more history about capitalism and just like prosperity is just not, it's not a moral question. You know what I mean? Like, we, in order for a nation to prosper, you don't have to be moral about it. In fact, for some, it's easier to not be moral. This is why they've been able to have, slavery as the basis for capitalism in America, right? And colonialism and imperialism, the highest stages of capitalism. And the erasure and the genocide of both Black and indigenous people and the stealing of their land. Like, we live in a settler colonial state in America, right? And I think that we have lots of prosperity, but it's like the moral question is not concerned. You know what I mean? Like, there's no moral morality to this kind of system. And when you have a system like that then says, okay, if prosperity is not a moral question, then I can go into any nation that I want and seek of prosperity, right? And justify it, right? And it's like, by any obvious differentiation, justifies the plunder. So I can just find anything about you that I don't like, even if it's something I created, and I can just say, hey, this is the reason I have consent to go and bomb this country, And I don't think it's crazy for us to be making, even if James Gunn didn't make the parallel intentionally, like, art has its own interpretation anyways. So, like, we can make that, as people who are existing and during these troubling times, can make that connection for ourselves. You know what I mean? And ask for a world that is better. You know what I mean? And demand better from a world, and understand that it's never going to come from capitalism. It's upsetting though. It's upsetting. Yeah, that shit wrecked me, bro. That shit wrecked me. What do you think about the fact that it was Justice Gang to come and save him and not Superman?
Honestly, the first thought I had was community. I think at the beginning, you see Superman, his first loss happens, and you see that it's him trying to, like, fight these machines that Lex come up with. We realize it's Ultraman eventually, it's a clone, whatever, but, like, he's trying to do it all by himself. And you see that, like, he can't be everywhere at once. And so my first thought when that happened was like, this is his community. He was like, hey guys, I need help. Like, I think the key, I think it highlighted the defining factor of this Superman, which was vulnerability is strength. Like, true strength is embracing the fact that you are vulnerable. I can't do it all. I need help. I need Lois to save me. I need Mr. Terrific to pull me out of this place. I need fucking Crypto. It took a village. And for somebody who, by all intents and purposes, could become a tyrant and really just run shit, for someone to say, that's not the choice that I'm making, I'm choosing to be vulnerable and ask for help, is incredibly powerful to watch. And so that was my first reaction when the Justice Gang to show up. What about you?
I think that's beautiful, bro. I honestly think that's beautiful. And as someone who has, like, leaned into vulnerability as a strength in my life and has tried to live through that, I think that's exactly, like, the kind of tone the movie was trying to say. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, and it's in juxtaposition to Snyder Superman. Not to circle back there, but it's like Snyder Superman didn't feel like that. You know what I mean? He didn't feel weak. He didn't feel like he needed other people's help in a way. Like, this movie made it feel like Superman needs people, and I also that Superman also inspires people. You know what I mean? Because initially the Justice Gang was like, we ain't get ourselves involved in geopolitical conversation that is against our material interests. Why would I want to intervene in this situation when I can just sit idly by and could do whatever the fuck? You know what I mean? And I think it shows you that hope is what inspires you to move beyond what you see as the shallow version of what you see as your material interest at the time. You know what I mean? Because the reality is, if they can do that to them, they can do that to us. But also, Superman is a beacon of hope that inspires others to act. And I think that hit home for me as a person who is like, who wants to be that person. And I think what the movie is saying is, like, for those people in the world that are struggling, who are getting G-sided, right? By, because of for the need for power and profit and resources, right? And domination. Like, we cannot just sit idly by and say, hey, I'm comfortable here. This benefits me. I don't have to say anything. We have to be Superman. Because Superman in real life is not coming to save any of these people. It's up to us. It's up to us individually to step in and intervene and create a system, overthrow the system we have, and create a system that works for and by the people, not just in America, not just in fucking Israel, Palestine, but all over the world. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that kind of world is possible. And I think that this movie inspires people and reminds them of what is possible when we come together and we seek to fight to create a better world.
And that was so cold. Yeah, dog.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, bro. I'm just, I you never know. After I get done talking for a while, I'm like, damn, what am I ranting too long? Am I hearing the no? I have no clue. I'm just kind of like vibing.
That's so true, man. It really was like this movie was super. Yeah. It was Superman inspiring people to make a change, and Superman's not coming. Oh, yeah. Bro. Yeah, man. Yeah,
he's not coming, bro. He's not coming. And that shit broke me, man. I cannot get that image out of my mind because there's so many images of young Palestinian kids of waving their flag, and to see Superman's flag at the end of that pole was just like, it was heart-wrenching, bro. And it's like, I understand the implications for people to not speak out right now because, I mean, there's so many negative consequences that come people's way, right? Like the current regime has no benefit in people speaking truth to power, specifically on the Palestine genocide that's taking place right now. But I think that what this movie shows us is that propaganda war that Israel was fighting, and Israel is America, first of all, that America was also fighting, is they're losing. You know what I mean? They're losing the propaganda war, and that people are choosing to fight for what is right instead. You know what I mean? And we're going to continue to see that happen as long as we have a democratization of like media. You know, but before it was like top down. It was like whatever the news said, that's what we all believed, right? Yeah. But now we have so many. We literally saw them live stream their own genocide, right? We are seeing past the veil of American propaganda, and we can see for ourselves for the first time. And granted, there is consequences that are affecting people's ability to be able to feel like they can speak out, and that will cause them harm. But it's like at the end of the day, what really matters to us, bro? What really matters, the material interest that we might gain by being quiet or speaking truth to power and making sure that we are not watching a genocide happen and sitting idly by, right? Like during the Holocaust times, right? We all read about the Holocaust, right? And then those times we're like, bro, how could anybody not speak out during that time, bro? It seemed insane to us, right? Like it's the idea that we could just, like there weren't people screaming for the roof, what is happening? And to their credit, a lot of those people didn't even know what was happening because of how, media and the news got around, right? But we are seeing a live stream genocide right before our eyes, right? And we have to be able to speak up to that and meet the moment. We have to, for our own humanity and then for the humanity of those who are being destroyed right now. We have to, because if we are to sit here and ignore their humanity, we will be committing an act of dehumanization onto ourselves as well, because we are all connected at the end of the day.
Yeah, you really hit on a point, which was something that I think about all the time, which is part of the cognitive dissonance that happens with the situation with Gaza is it flies in the face of the lie that allows us to get through school, which is when that was happening to the Native Americans, I wouldn't have did that. I wouldn't have stood by and let that happen, right? Oh, when that shit was happening to Black people, we would never do that. Like that's the only way that you can get through school without losing your mind, throwing up, like telling your parents are the worst human beings on the planet, is being like, what the fuck is like, okay, well, we wouldn't have did that. That was way back then. And watching this stuff happen and having access to this information in real time and being able to see it, like, oh, hold up. Like it really does yeah, it just questions the foundations that this country needs to maintain its like power of propaganda over all of us, the idea of the American dream.
Yeah,
And so I think that's why it's so sort of crucial for folks to stamp out any sort of ideas of dissent against this narrative, because we're not just talking
yeah,
about fucking Israel and Gaza. You're literally talking about, like, if we start making that right, we got to start making it right for Black people. We got to start making it right for Native Americans people. We got to start making it right for Latin America. We got to start making it right for Congo.
1000%.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? Like, if
yes.
we got to make it right for fucking, Burkina Faso. Shout out to the homie out there, Ibrahim. All right, let me stop.
Yeah,
Like, we got to start making it right for everybody else. And it's like,
yeah,
what is it? What is that fucking ants quote? If we let one ant stand up to us, we got all them other ants are gonna stand up. Like, and so
yeah,
so much of it is just is a maintaining of this sort of status quo. But I think the fucking genie's out of the bottle, bro. Like
yeah.
the
I hope
right
so.
is revolting against the Epstein shit. I can't even say that word. The right's cut that out,
Yeah.
sir. The right is revolting against that shit. They done gone one step too far.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, maybe something's about to change. Maybe systems are crumbling. But yeah, man, this film was definitely a reminder to just at the very least to start to remember people's humanity. And
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and stand for fucking something, bro. And I think that you brought up an interesting point when you said that it's like if we have to stand up for, or if we get to stand up for the people that are being genocided in Gaza right now, we also have to stand up for the people that at home that are being, like, Black people and indigenous people. Like, and it just brings up the point that, like, all of our oppression is interconnected, and we are stronger when we stand up for all of us together. You know what I mean? I think that's such an important thing for us to do. Like, you don't have to agree with everybody. You don't have to like everybody. You can acknowledge the differences in certain communities and their level of anti-Blackness or whatever the fuck. But at the end of the day, we got to stand up for what's right, because not only is it the right thing to do, but it also will affect how we are treated as well. And it shouldn't have to be framed that way, but I understand that people need to hear it that way sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do we get here, Superman?
Yeah.
Superman.
I know, right? This is what Superman inspires, though, and I fuck with that, bro. I feel like superheroes are back after this movie, bro. Superheroes are so fucking back, bro. And I hope that this is a trend that we continue to see, because of people who spoke about this and said things about it, that we continue to see our superheroes actually do superhero shit, bro. Except fighting random niggas for random reasons. And it's like, all these comic books have been hella political since their inception, bro.
You bring up a really interesting point, in the sense that, like, this was the most, like, disconnected from our world comic book movie we've gotten in a while. Like, this thing was clones out the gate, kaiju, like, interdimensional fucking rift. He had a prison in an interdimensional space, and we didn't blink an eye about that. She was like, "Oh yeah, nigga, let's go." He did it. And but like, despite that, it still had probably one of the biggest real world implication tie-ins in real time, which I think is a masterful fucking stroke of writing. That's impressive.
Yeah, I give that. It's grounded, but it's also not at the same time.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't trying to make this like this grounded thing, like, oh, let's figure it out. Like, nah, bro. Like, this is Superman, bro. We not about to be on that. But at the same time, it did give him the freedom to, you can cut and paste things that you want to, that are meaningful to you, and have people pause and go, whoa, like, we could have had an AI subplot. There's so many other aspects of this that we could have looked at, and I was just genuinely impressed at his freedom to not try to turn this into, how do I make this make sense for, like, real life shit. Like,
someone who was like that kind of person, who was like, I want to see why this makes sense at all times. I did notice in this movie, like, I don't think there were a lot of times where I cared, outside the point where he was like, This shit pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie. When he blew the wind to get away from the black hole.
That's a feat.
That shit pissed me off. I was like,
that's a feat.
Bro, I mean, like, I would like to see you work up to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to casually drop a black hole in this proton universe and have him blow his way out of it. I'm like, that shit pissed me off. But I do think that the movie does a good job for the most part, not making me even give a fuck. You know what I mean? And I think that's important sometimes, like to suspend your disbelief. I think that is an important part of like creating a movie, like something you want to think about. And I think he does a way of having that happen without ever really making you think about it too much. You know what I'm saying? Because of what it's grounded in like real life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What did you think about Superman's like identity crisis with his parents saying what they said, allegedly that this is the truth, and then also, you know, go ahead, I'll let you go.
No, or you were gonna say?
I was gonna say that I thought it was particularly interesting in the sense of like how in the beginning of the movie Clark was like, play my parents, right? And he plays, you know, his parents from Krypton, and they're saying all the sweet stuff about him. And then throughout the movie, you see that, you know, obviously his parents were necessarily not good people. Yeah, they had different beliefs about who he should be, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get to see the conversation with him and his dad, and how his dad essentially says, his dad on Earth, I forgot his name, Mr. Kent, I guess, says that parents are not here to tell you who you need to be. We're here to give you the tools to make fools of yourself all on your own. You know what I mean? And I resonate with that a lot for multiple different reasons. From the parent perspective, it's like, don't control your kids. You know what I'm saying? They're like flowers in the garden. They're going to be who they want to be. We're just here to usher that. But also Superman's internal battle at the same time is like, who is he? Who am I? You know what I mean? In a way. And I think in this movie, he's deciding who he is. And at the end of the movie, you see he plays the videos of, you know, him being with his family on Earth, the Kent family, right? Mm-hmm. And that's who he chooses to be. Like in his, like he's the alien who chooses to be human, you know? And because being human is a part of who he is, you know what I'm saying? And I think that speech at the end really hit that home where he talks to Lex Luthor, and there's also kind of like a little bit of parallels, a lot of parallels between immigrants, right? Like that's an important aspect of the movie as well. Is like immigrants are people too, you know what I mean? Are human too, and it's like crazy that it needs to be said, right? Mm-hmm. But I think this movie really hits that home for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, man, agreed. I'd say what this film does is it inverts the sort of story that you usually get with Superman, in the sense that like it's usually his like Kryptonian parents that are like benevolent, and they're like, you know, especially in fucking Snyder, it's like be an inspiration to the humans, help them be better for themselves or whatever. And Snyder even took it one step so far for me with him like making his dad like this kind of like, I don't know, fuck him like vibe. I'm like, this is not Pa Kent, but we're gonna get to that. But I loved the sort of inversion of that idea and that trope, in the sense that like it very much made you deal with the fact that like, yeah, man, like it gives this sort of energy of chosen family, and the fact that you have to choose who you are going to be. It's man, his identity crisis makes me think of. Go ahead.
I also think it, like, to your point as you're talking, I'm like, I think it restores faith in what it means to be human, right? It gives us hope to be human, rather than we have to be some inhuman thing to be good and kind and you know, create a world that's better for people. That has to be some kind of outwardly thing that, you know, like you said in the Snyder universe, where it's like that's inspire the humans, but it's really what humans do to Clark is what makes him Superman. You know what I mean? It's the fact that he's human, right? It's the fact that he's human, and that gives humans on Earth, like we should all look at that and be inspired to say, what can we achieve in creating this world? Because we are Superman. You know what I mean? We are what makes him strong. He says it in the movie himself. Being human, you know?
His humanity makes him hopeful. Like, that's what it is, bro. Like, and 100%. It really actually, I think, does a really almost better job of pointing out the sort of more, I guess I can say spiritual, but mindful idea that Superman kind of embodies, in the sense to kind of bring it back home to the sort of earlier quote. A lot of people talk about like the comparisons between Jesus or Moses, and both of them are kind of apt, and I won't get into it because at one point it was Moses and then somebody took it over and then made it Jesus. It is what it is. But I think part of that energy, or of the both of those stories that they have in common, is that they had two sets of parents, like a separate set of parents who were out of the picture, and then you landed in this sort of other world where now you have this another set of parents who are going to raise you, and they weren't the people who birthed you. And like, from a sort of mindfulness perspective, I think we come out very much when you're a kid, there's a part of you that isn't like touched by your parents, right? Your awareness, when you come into the world, you're pretty clean, right? Your awareness, there's a you that isn't being birthed from your parents. There's a part, people come in with their own personalities, your own ways of being. And so when the world and your parents kind of raise you, yes, you're being raised by your parents. They brought you into the world. They're your biological parents or non-biological parents, but these things aren't going to be the things that decide or dictate who you choose to be, because there's still a part of you that is untouched by all of the past and the karma and your genetics and all the stuff. All of that stuff, it plays a part. But at the end of the day, who you choose to be is going to come from a part of you that's not necessarily based in all that. And I think Superman does a great job of being like, this does a really great job of showing you like, yo, who are you going to choose to be? And instead of it coming from Krypton, it comes from Pa Kent being like, it ain't my job to tell our kids who they're supposed to be, bro. I was like, yo, I was weeping. I was like, yo, Pa Kent, we out here. That's beautiful. We out here, because this is exactly
that's beautiful. Correct. I love that, bro. Yeah, that's beautiful, bro. Thank you for sharing that. Like, that's some real life shit, bro. And I think that it kind of ties back to the quote that we were talking about earlier. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's not the situation you're in, but your emotions that you perceive in that moment. You know what I mean? In a sense that like Superman didn't get to choose who he was. You know what I mean? Or how his life necessarily ended up, but he chose to respond in a way that was more authentic to who he wanted to be. You know what I mean? I think that's something we all can take with it. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Yeah. Great place to stop. That was the goal right there, my nigga. Like, that was
it. Hey, yo, Paul, David, I'm having a really good time with this podcast with you. I appreciate you, man, like a lot. This is a lot of fun, man.
Same, bro. Absolutely same.
Yeah.
Great, man. This was great.
Yeah. This has been another great banger. Also, rebellions are built on hope. Superman's for hope. But yeah, that has been all today. Thank you guys for listening in for the Mindful Blerd podcast. We'll be back soon. We got a backlog of episodes. We're uploading Andor as well as Last of Us as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys follow, like, subscribe. We're everywhere on Mindful Blerd. David, any last words?
Rebellions are built on hope. Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right, bro. I'll catch you guys the next time.